I'd like to acknowledge that this is going to be recorded for posterity's sake. I'm sorry. I'm not on. Prior to starting the meeting, I just want to acknowledge that this will be recorded by our videographer, Ani. I'd like to call the Town of Trumbull's Zoning Board of Appeal April 3rd meeting to commence. Before we begin, can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Do we have a motion to approve the meetings from our last meeting? Seconded?
Second.
All in favor? Passes unanimously.
I'll abstain. It was not.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve was not here, yes, correct. Moving forward, sorry. What's last week? There we go. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Where's you have this one? There we go. Application 24-0910 Walnut. No, this is last week. Is it? No, this is this week. Yeah. Okay. 10 Walnut Avenue. Veronica. I'm sorry. Can you pronounce your last name for me? My glasses were not.
Ventreschi.
Designed for Ronald Machado. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Veronica Ventreschi. I'm here in name of Ronaldo Machado from 10 Walnut Avenue.
Please proceed.
All right. So we pretty much have approved 2,400 square footage house. It was a variance on February, and by mistake, we forgot to add the deck and the portico, the front and back. We're not going to change anything in the house. It's going to remain the same. We are just here for the deck and the portico, okay? So pretty much the front setback, we are requesting the waiver of the front setback where from the first step, 24 feet and 5 inches is proposed and 50 is requested. The rear setback, we are requesting a waiver of the rear setback where 50 is required and 27 feet and 7 inches is proposed. The deck is going to measure 14 by 12, and the portico is going to be 6 feet 8 inches by 5 feet 5 inches. That's the proposed plan, and we also have in the plans, and we also have in the survey, and we are not asking anything besides that. And for hardship, we have lots that is totally non-conforming, and that's the reason why we're requiring the variance.
Thank you very much. Commissioners to my right, any questions? Commissioners to my left, any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here present today who would like to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone else here who would like to speak opposed to this application? Are we going to move to a private session right now? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Seconded by Mayo. Discussion, anyone? This is the property where the town owns both sides by the mall?
Non-conforming.
Yeah,
Yeah, and very unique with the town on both sides.
exactly. Go for a vote. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Chairman, I just want to note there's engineering.
Oh, there is
comments on this.
engineering comments. Thank you. I apologize. Prior to engineering approval, applicant must show compliance with the administrative policy for stormwater management and drainage design standards, obtain a driveway and sanitary sewer permits. Thank you.
Have everything in the department.
Moving forward, application 24-10, Lot 4, parcel I-8, 190, West Mishka Road, Timothy S. Hollister Esquire for David Aridin. Thank you, sir.
evening, Good evening, Chairman Saunders, board members, board staff, Attorney Cordone. I'm Attorney Tim Hollister, Hinckley, Allen, and Snyder in Hartford. Pleased to be in a warm and dry place. I'm representing Mr. Arendt, and Mr. Arendt has been called out of state to care for medical care for a family member, but he is watching the live stream, and he asked me to go ahead and proceed. If necessary, I can communicate with him by phone or text message. That said, I do want to say Mr. Arendt was raised in Trumbull. He was a longtime resident of Pinewood Lake and is currently still an owner member of the Pinewood Lake Association. I want to note the procedural requirements were met. The abutter notice was mailed March 22nd, and the original certificate, copy of the notice, and the list of property owners was submitted March 22nd and received March 25. We filed the application in hard copy and digitally on March 13th. And just to help you understand the presentation, I've just passed out a couple of excerpts from the application materials. So if I can if you keep the exhibits at your right hand while I speak, that'll help. So Mr. Arendt owns Lot 4 and Lot 5 on West Misha Road. In 2012, the town confirmed in a letter that lots 4 and 5 are legal building lots, subject to wetlands approval. In 2011, this board granted a variance, front yard setback variance for Lot 5. That's not the lot that's in front of you, but it's Mr. Arendt's adjacent lot directly to the west, granted a 25-foot setback for that lot. And I'll come back to the status of that lot in a minute. In May of 2022, Mr. Arendt applied to the Wetlands Commission for a regulated activities permit for each lot, both Lot 4 and Lot 5. The Lot 5 plan was able to be proposed construction of a single-family home completely out of the wetlands, only in the upland review area. But the Lot 4 application, that's the lot we're addressing tonight, had an unusual set of constraints, an intermittent water course that runs through the middle of the lot and conveys stormwater from a culvert from West Misha Road and eventually going through several other properties into Pinewood Lake. So if you look at Exhibit A that I've given you, you can see the water course. It looks like it's drawn like it's a piped water course, but it's an open channel, and it starts in the upper right. You can see if you see West Misha Road at the top, about 2 inches to the right of that, and then follow that with your finger down onto Lot 4, through the middle of Lot 4, and down to the bottom of the page. That is the intermittent water course, and it conveys stormwater. In addition, if you look, please, at the lower right, there is a 30-foot wide gas easement. I believe it's Tennessee Gas on the right side of the page, and that encumbers the area on the south side of the lot. And so with those two constraints, what is left is really two non-wetland areas, one directly adjacent to West Misha Road, and then the second area, which is to the south, framed by the pipeline and the water course, and that just on the right half of the page to the left of the property line. So in 2022, the Lot 4 application was basically to build a home that would fill about 4,000 square feet, disturb and fill about 4,000 square feet of the wetlands that you see shaded in gray, and for a portion to reroute the water course by piping it. And in November of 2022, the Wetlands Commission denied permits for both lots. Their concern about Lot 5 was the proximity of the proposed home to the wetland boundary, but on Lot 4, they did not like the direct wetlands impact, and in retrospect, they probably had some justification for that. So the applicant filed an appeal of both of those denials, and then In February of this year, just 2 months ago, working with Attorney Cordone, we settled the Lot 5 wetlands application by basically moving the home further away from the wetlands and creating more buffer space to address the Wetlands Commission's concern about any future encroachment. And there were various conditions about maintenance that the applicant agreed to. So now we're back tonight to Lot 4, and I will tell you the wetlands application for the revised Lot 4 plan was heard by the Wetlands Commission on March 5th and last night, and scheduled for a public hearing on May 7th, so next month. So we'll be continuing on the wetland side. But as far as the revised plan for Lot 4, if I can have you turn over to Exhibit B, the second page of what I gave you. The plan here is what is called a bridge house, and this Exhibit B is not the what is proposed on Lot 4. This is just to show you the concept. It's sort of the best photograph we could find of an existing bridge house. This one is actually in the state of Washington, but what it shows is a bridge house means a structure that is built on foundations on either side of a wetland or a watercourse, so there's a clear span under the structure that preserves the wetlands and allows the watercourse to flow unobstructed. So that is what is proposed here. If you then would go back to the first sheet, Exhibit A, basically the only wetland disturbance would be temporary mats that would be put down across basically where you see the number 4 in the middle of the page, which would only be put down when the watercourse is completely dry, and that would be to facilitate constructing the foundation on the southerly side of the lot and the wetlands. And then once that is done, the mats would be taken up and there would be no further activity or disturbance. So this plan avoids the wetland impact by the north end having its front setback approximately 8 feet from the street line of West Misha Road, and having its south foundation on the south of the wetlands and the watercourse. As I mentioned, we're going back to wetlands on May 7th for hearing. Just a couple things I'd like you to notice about the site plan. Just below the words West Misha Road, you have the driveway, the main entrance that goes with a small bump out, I guess you would call it, that goes into the garage, which is you see GF 201.0. That's the garage area. There's also a mud room in that part of the structure. Then to the left of that, you see the brick-like shading. That is a pervious paver, a parking space that would be not paved with blacktop, but just basically bricks or pervious treatment. There are sewer and water connections shown, and then the architecture, as per your regulations, is on Exhibit C, of which there are 2 pages showing all 4 elevations with dimensions. And you'd also notice that there is a basement that would be on the south side foundation. So, to address why we're here, the basis for requesting approval, first I would note that the application is in harmony with the zoning regulations. This is a AA zone, and we're proposing a single-family home. The town, as I said, has confirmed a buildable lot. Probably the most important point is that the proposed setback has many precedents in the vicinity of Pinewood Lake, as you may know. In particular, and this is all illustrated on the last page of what I gave you, Exhibit D, where we took the time to go through lot by lot, measure the setbacks from the street line based on the street card and so forth. But interestingly, 2 and 3 West Misha Road, which are shown on here, are right at the property line. Basically, they have a 0 front yard setback. And then along Old Pinewood Trail and Old Sawmill Road, there are numerous lots with a very minimal front setback. Of 16 nearby properties, 11 of them have a setback of less than 3 feet from the road. One is at 17 feet, and 4 are 29 feet or less. And overall in the neighborhood, 65 lots in total, 37 have a front setback of less than the regulations allow. So I guess our point is we're not asking for something that does not have a precedent in the neighborhood. Last thing I'll dwell on is the legal hardship. The reason for the request is to avoid the wetland and watercourse disturbance that the Wetlands Commission made clear they did not want to see. And of course, we cannot build on the gas line easement, so we're left with the two buildable area, non-wetland buildable areas. And I want to stress that our engineer, Jason Edwards and company from Easton, took a long time to exactly try to situate the structure, the two foundations, to minimize the wetland disturbance and minimize the tree cutting. So if you're going to ask us, well, can you move the house back further, that would require wetlands disturbance and more tree cutting. So there's an actual physical on-the-ground reason for the configuration. So avoiding, and then I have given you in our application package at tab 7 Connecticut court cases that say that avoidance of wetlands impacts and utility easements has been recognized as a legal hardship that will support a variance. I'll just end by saying I've been a land use lawyer for 43 years. I have done a lot of variance applications. This one is about as good a fit of the criteria as anything I've had. And so I will leave it at that. I thank you for letting me drone on.
I appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you.
I have no questions other than the fact that we are very familiar with this neighborhood, and just make a statement that great job, by the way. That's really much all I have to say. Commissioners to my right.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Hollister. I have a bunch of questions. I mean, it's a really interesting configuration. I don't know that I've seen a house like this around, and certainly there's nothing like this in the neighborhood. The houses you talk about that have smaller front yard setbacks, it seems like, just looking at your plan, a lot of those are the little, let's say, seasonal cabins, if you will, or smaller cabins that exist just down the road close to the lake from here. How, of the numbers you cited that have zero or small setbacks like this, where you're essentially going about 85 or 90% into the variance, how many of those are sort of larger year-round single-family homes?
Yeah, well, I don't know if the cabins themselves are year-round or seasonal. I think it's probably some of both.
But if you take out the I think it's Pinewood Trail, old Pinewood Trail, cabins.
Right. Well, I think I know where you're going with your question. If in part, if you go further, I guess it would be north along Old Pinewood Trail on the lake side, there are a couple, I believe it's 56, 61, and 65 Pinewood Trail that are not 3 feet from the road, but they're certainly less than 50 feet. So and those are large single-family homes. In addition, I believe there are some on East Lake Road, which you can see from Exhibit D on the, I guess it would be the north side across from the street from the clubhouse. As I said, I think that probably the most important statistic is out of 65 lots in the neighborhood, 37 have a front yard that is less than the regulations. And I can't give you the exact number of those that are sort of regular single-family homes, but it's at least a dozen. So.
Yeah, so I'm looking at, I don't think a comparison to the cabins is an apt comparison. I'm looking at the East Lake Road and West Misha Road.
Yes.
And just from the map you provided, Exhibit D, it looks like, there are smaller encroachments into the setbacks. It doesn't, once again, it's hard to tell from this map, and the scale, but it looks like, we've got at least 25 or more feet in each of the circumstances as you go around that East Lake, West Misha Road loop. And only this one and maybe one other would be significantly into the setback.
Okay, well, just so we're on the same page.
Right, so I'm looking at East Lake Road.
Yeah, East Lake Road.
Looping around past the clubhouse toward West Misha Road.
Okay.
And then down West Misha Road. it looks like only, lot 19 has is approaching how close this is, but none of the other ones are as close as this one is to the street.
As close as
right?
proposed here, that's correct. But in terms of being closer than the regulations require, we could start at East Lake Road, number 12, 18, 22, 30. Those numbers are given to you in the table in the box at the lower right.
Right.
So along there, again, I'm not claiming 7.8 feet as we're requesting here, but there is precedent certainly for a substantial reduction in the front setback. And then that continues, as you observed, with the mainly the cabins, many of which are one story, right on the corner, including 2 West Misha and 3 West Misha, and then the ones that have an old Pinewood Trail. But then if you go further, I guess, to the north, along the left side of Pinewood Trail, those 4 homes are also within 50, not 50 feet from. If they were 50 feet, they'd be pretty in the lake. So those are they're precedent. And we can, I think we can play around with the numbers, but my point is there is precedent in the neighborhood for relief from the 50-foot setback. And in this particular case, the distance that we're asking for is dictated by the wetlands and the gas easement, which is
So-
not a constraint on those other lots.
And, I mean, just using the table that you pointed out on East Lake Road, other than the clubhouse, there's a significant distance from the road for all of those properties on East Lake. I mean, the closest is 24 feet, which is half the setback, and then some are in the 40s. So it seems like this is, from this East Lake Road neighborhood, a significant variation. If you want to get into the cabins, it would seem to me that, yeah, you could probably put a cabin on this property and not have this engineering marvel we have, in front of us tonight. But that doesn't seem the goal. Wood, just this is a crazy lot. I mean, let me ask you this: at the end of the day, how big is this finished house? I mean, you showed us a plan.
Well, I believe the footprint, which includes the garage, is 2,100 square feet. I'm doing that from memory.
On
but
2 levels, so it's about 4,000 plus square feet.
No, it's not that big because
Okay.
the second floor is smaller than the first floor. And that's partially an architectural attempt to kind of
Yeah.
minimize the impact of the 2 stories. But to go back to your earlier point,
Yeah.
The request here is the result of the location of the wetlands and the gas easement, a constraint that you don't have on the other lots in the neighborhood.
But-
And also, I would say, if you had a 1-story cabin proposed on the lot we're talking about tonight, it would still have to be essentially a bridge in order to minimize the wetlands. Otherwise, you'd be filling right in the wetlands, which is what we were told we should not do. So it's not the type of structure, it's the location where you could put the foundation with no wetland disturbance.
Well, I mean, it seemed to me that if half the house, or one side of the house, is on the West Misha roadside, and, cabins are literally a stone's throw away, you could build a cabin-sized property on one piece without having the larger property with a much smaller setback, with a much smaller variance, I should say. Instead of taking 85% of the variance away, you could take, 30 or 40% of the variance away.
Well,
Setback away, excuse me.
Well, I guess I'm respectfully going to disagree with you. Again, the constraints of the lot dictate where you're going to put the foundation, which to make sure that it's out of the wetlands. That's going to give you a certain depth or length of the structure, and that's what dictates the square footage, not whether it's a cabin or a 2-family home. I would also say, I was there taking another look at the area about 3 hours ago, and lot 4, which is the one we're talking about, shown in the blue outline, and lot 5 is now approved for development with a 25-foot setback. I'm not going to say it's a stone's throw. I mean, I read online, one of the neighbors said this is going to encroach on our ability to use the lake and stroll around the lake. Well, this is up the hill. These two lots are not cheek by jowl with the cabins on Old Pinewood Trail or Pinewood Trail or East Lake Road. I'm not going to say it's not a quarter of a mile, but they're also not right on top of them either. These are somewhat isolated lots on the I guess it's the east side of the road, and there's certainly a very significant amount of land behind the proposed house locations because the lots are very deep. So I don't think it's going to look overcrowded in any sense of the word, and that was what we were trying to achieve with the location and the architecture.
Right. I still don't see what's forcing the house to be so large if you could fit a cabin with less of a setback, and there's cabins all around this area.
Steve, you mind if I interject?
Sure.
Because that would put them right into the water course.
No. In the front part. So if you had a small cabin in the front part.
Oh, I see what you're saying, behind, yeah.
On West Misha, we probably have less of a variance. It would be consistent with the other cabins and so forth. And there wouldn't be a need for this sort of engineering marvel.
I call it creative, maybe.
Yeah.
But if you look at the box, the part of the foundation that would be closest to West Misha Road, where it says ground floor 201, that's a garage and a mudroom. So the living space is behind that, south of that. So you need that part of the structure in order to be able to get the car in off West Misha Road and pull directly into the parking space. So that's not really living room space. So then from there, in order to span the water course, you need to build the south foundation, beyond the wetlands line. So again, I'm just trying to make the case.
When you say you
Yeah.
need if you want to build a house this big. But if you want to use that front portion, you've created an impervious surface for the driveway. You've created a semi-permeable surface for this car area. I mean, there seems to be plenty of surface for a cabin-like area that doesn't. I mean, all the cabins down there don't have garages.
Well, I think that's part of the point. Is it is these days a good thing to have a garage. For example, when we were at the Wetlands Commission in 2022, they said, well, if you don't have a garage, then you're going to store all your maintenance equipment outside, and we don't like that. I mean, garage is interior storage that actually helps maintain the property and give it a nice, clean appearance to the neighborhood. So I think a garage is a very important part of the structure. I'm not saying you couldn't build a cabin, but I just don't think it would be functional in this location or attractive or something that you would want to have on this property, especially with an approved single-family home directly to the west.
So with this single-family home on the south side, it looks like there's a garage. There's a door that opens on the south side.
Correct. There's just a door.
Just a door. So how does if you go out the door there, you can't get to the other side of the property unless you go through the wetlands.
There's a walkway on the side, shown on the side. That's how you would get across the structure.
Okay.
So nobody's walking through the wetland.
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly unique.
Let me say one other thing. Bridging a wetland, probably unusual with a house, but bridges across culverts are very common in wetlands situations. If you have any kind of watercourse between the road and where you want to build a house, you bridge the wetland. And so there's nothing unusual about bridging a wetland. I will agree that the bridge house is probably something that is not in this neighborhood, and we didn't canvass the town of Trumbull to see where else there may be. There are examples in Fairfield County and Litchfield County.
I'm not saying, I'm not arguing with bridges. Having, as you did today, having gone by the site today in the rain, I was actually surprised that there are non-wetlands on the site. I mean, the site looks like it's complete wetlands. So it's, I understand that, the need to sort of find the areas that aren't wet to build on, but it seems like you already, you have a a buildable but much smaller lot up front. I don't see the need, I don't see that there's anything that forces you to bridge it and build something larger. I'm having a difficult time with that, especially since the setbacks on this side of the lake are more in the neighborhood of, halfway into the setback or in the 40s of setbacks, not just right up at the Mission
I
Road.
guess the only response I can give, if you had a 25-foot setback on the north side here, you would not have room to build the foundation. The plan would not work. It's a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to thank you for your probing questions.
Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioners, am I right? Any further questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just following up on Commissioner Elbaum's question. So the garage area, which is in the front portion adjacent to West Misha Road, and first of all, thank you for your application and your explanation, because I think it was very clear with regard to what's being proposed here. And this isn't a unique, we're just putting a deck in and please make a decision. It's a very unique application. So getting back to that front area where the pad is, or the foundation's 22 by 31 feet foundation slab on grade, and that's going to be the garage as you testified to, correct?
Correct.
Is that a one-car garage or two-car garage?
One.
One-car garage? Is there any way that garage could be shorter than the 25 feet to increase the variance, increase the setback and decrease the variance
Well,
request?
we looked at that. We're still, as I mentioned, we're trying to create a little bit of storage space in the garage. So this is nowhere near wide enough to be a two-car garage, but we didn't want it to be just wide enough so you could only get the car in there and nothing else. And again, as I said, that relates back to the exact discussion with the Wetlands Commission 2 years ago. They said, well, they were worried, especially on Lot 5, since we were close to the wetlands. Well, all your maintenance equipment's going to be outside, and that's going to make its way into the wetlands. And we said, okay, we'll bring it inside into an interior storage room, and that was Attorney Cordone and I worked on a plan that made a number of adjustments of that type in order to get to an agreement that the Wetlands Commission accepted. So there's a functional purpose in every part of the size and location and entrance route to the garage.
Okay, so it's an oversized one-car garage, and the purpose is to satisfy some of the concerns that inland wetlands had. Is that correct?
Correct.
Great, thank you. And then secondly is, I look at how the building envelope or the lot lines, not the lot lines, I'm sorry, the building envelope is configured, and I look to the left of the front of where the foundation is, and there's the, what do you call these things? The detention galleries, the detention system.
Right.
So, and I'm just trying to find a way maybe to minimize your request for a variance, but it seems to me that if you turned this towards the, I guess that'd be west, it would be crossing a narrower area of the wetlands. Is the galleries the reason why you cannot do that?
Well, you don't want to be on top of the galleries, but that would also result in more impervious surface between the entrance to West Misha Road and the garage. So you'd have more stormwater to collect because you'd have more impervious surface. And believe me, Mr. Edwards, who couldn't be here tonight, but we went back and forth for weeks on this, trying to look at it from every different angle. And we looked at the exact alternative that you're talking about now, and his response was that would result in more impervious, more stormwater, enlarging the stormwater galleries, and we didn't want to do that.
And then one other question I have is, and just from the point of view of, you look at this and you see the wetlands and you see the structure crossing the wetlands, and that's somewhat alarming, when I see it like that. And so my question is, why don't we wait for a decision from inland wetlands before we make a decision on this application?
Very, very good question, and I had this discussion with your staff, the town staff, before we
Well,
filed.
they're not my staff, I don't pay them.
The board staff.
They just do a lot of hard work for us.
Agreed. The town staff. it's sort of a chicken and an egg question, but Mr. Fitzgerald's recommendation, if I remember correctly, and with which I agreed, is the Wetlands Commission needs to know the exact dimension of the house in order to make their determination of is there going to be a wetland impact. And I think what you and I just talked about, where is the stormwater gallery going to be? How big is it going to be? What's its water quality and water quality improvement function? They would like to know all of that with precision. If we go to the end of the wetlands process and we don't have this process resolved, then we're sort of at sea. So in other words, you're really setting the basis for what the Wetlands Commission will evaluate by setting the foundation, small f and large f of the house. So I think that's the logical way to do. But you're right. Is there an absolute answer one way or the other? No. There's a better this way, better that way. I think having this board go first, and we knew going into last night at Wetlands that they were going to continue it to the public hearing in May. So we decided that was good because we were going to be here tonight.
I have no further questions. I'll reserve my comments for the work session.
Catherine, I'm sorry, Commissioner Krieger, any questions? Commissioner to my left, any questions? Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else here present who would like to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone here who would like to speak opposed to this application? All right, I'd like to close this section of our meeting to... I'm sorry, do I have to read them? Yeah, they were all in the record. Is there anything that's not been... Do you want me to read?
No, I think they're all on the.
They're all on the
They're all
record.
part of the record.
Yeah.
There was nothing, excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Is there anything that came in after?
No, that's what I was asking her. Yeah, they're all already submitted for the record. It's a tough one. Motion, I'm sorry, you had a motion to approve?
We have a motion to close the public hearing.
I'm sorry. We've closed the public. I'm sorry. Is there anyone else who just arrived who'd like to speak in favor or against application 2410? All right, then I'd like to close the public portion of our meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Chairman, you ready?
Go for it.
You could put a little cabin here, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing stopping them from coming in and having a little cabin consistent with the cabins, I don't know, 50 yards away, 100 yards away, maybe a spec more than that. So there's nothing that's forcing them to build a much larger house and do all this, very interesting and expensive engineering.
Yeah.
There are dozens of cabins around here they could put a cabin in, whether it's, all year round, whether it has living space or not. So
What would the cabin accomplish in terms?
Kathy, turn your...
Commissioner Krieger, are you voting tonight?
Well, oh, that's right. Yeah, if you're not voting, you can't...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I apologize. I
No,
actually would love
I-
to hear what you have to say, but I do have to.
So I'll channel my inner, alternate Krieger and try and answer a hypothetical question, if I may. I think the cabin would accomplish more conformity with the neighborhood in that, going around this sort of teardrop of West Misha to the street that goes up and around past the clubhouse, have a neighborhood of single-family homes that have 25 to 45-foot setbacks, and now you're going to throw in a home that's got a 7.8-foot setback in there. A cabin might not fit with that group of homes, but you could build a cabin there. I think having a sort of larger home, right up against the street is inconsistent with the rest of the neighborhood, other than the clubhouse. So I have a, I understand the hardship with the conformity of the land, but there's nothing forcing them to build such a big house that's got to be so extensively engineered to fit there. I was shocked that it's a building lot, for what it's worth, having driven by there.
Any other comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I concur with Commissioner Elbaum. Ironically, you know, Exhibit D, you know, shows the setbacks of all the cabins, and it makes it apparent that, geez, if you wanted to create a cabin which is adjacent, you could build a cabin on that area and have a less restrictive variance. And it would be in conformity with the neighborhood. So Exhibit D kind of illustrates that to a certain extent. My other comment is with regard to the relationship between inland wetlands and our commission. And the question becomes the chicken and the egg, as the applicant's attorney had mentioned. I'd like to know the answer to the question of whether they have authority to encroach into the wetlands before we answer whether or not what they have the authority to build. That's my comment with regard to the relationship between Inland Wetlands Commission, which grants the authority to encroach into the 100-foot restricted area. So if they have the authority to build, then I think we make a decision as to what they have the authority to build. That's my position with regard to the relationship of those two commissions, and I think their commission is better suited to make that determination because they deal more with soil scientists, engineering. I mean, we deal with measurements, with all due respect to our commission, but inland wetlands deals with more sophisticated engineering issues that are relative to encroachment into sensitive wetland areas. So I'd like to have the answer to that prior to us making a decision. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I understand that, sir. I mean, and as someone who's got a degree in forest biology and it took wetlands ecology, and in order for those people, the scientists, to make those types of decisions, you need to know what the impact is going to be based on what you're going to do. So for them to be able to make a sound scientific or impactful statement on the impact of ecology in the wetlands, they need to know what the particular things are going to happen there prior to making their judgment. I totally agree that especially in this situation, knowing what's going to be there will allow them to be able to make a sound, more a better decision to impact or to determine whether or not this project will impact water quality. So that's the only reason why I just wanted
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. However, I'm looking at a proposal of what's going to be done.
Yeah.
So it's
well, they still have to approve. Even if we approve this, they still have the opportunity
right.
to say
Just let me
no.
finish my sentence,
Yeah,
please.
I apologize.
So they do have a proposal that they can go by, so it's not like they're guessing where the building's going to be. So they do have the information to make a decision. I just think their decision should be prior to our decision. The application was filed first with Inland Wetlands Commission, and then subsequently an application was filed with our board. It was heard last night at a hearing. A public hearing is scheduled. I'd say let that run its course, pardon the pun, and then let's make our decision.
Appreciate it. Commissioner to my left, any statements?
I agree with Matt.
Yeah. Should we take a vote?
Commissioner,
I'm sorry.
if I may, so Commissioner Reale, are you looking not to make a decision tonight? I do. There's a difference between voting on it tonight. You can, defer this decision if you choose to withdraw the motion. I will state that, just so you're aware that on the other lot 5, the variance was granted in a prior application, and then a wetlands approval was denied. So that has been the practice before on these parcels, and it does permit the Wetlands Commission to then know what could be permitted. And that does give them clarity. Their decisions are highly technical in nature, on which they have to rely on experts in the field. So there is merit to this board making a decision prior to wetlands. I do want to make clear, and that is the practice before as well. Both of your decisions have to stand on their own merits. Either there is a hardship or there's not. Either it is a significant impact to the wetlands or it's not. Both of those commissions have to make those decisions on their own merits, not with respect to what the other commission does. What this commission does define a framework within which the Wetlands Commission can then understand what has been permitted under zoning.
Yeah, I do understand that, Attorney Cordone, and I appreciate the explanation. However, I'm still, and maybe it's just me, but I just think inland wetlands can make their decision as to whether there's authority to encroach into the wetlands, and then we make our decision as to where that authority begins or ends, after they're authorized to encroach. And if they're not authorized to encroach, then they can't build.
Correct. You could authorize the variance with a 0 setback, and if the wetlands denies the application, they still cannot build. So again, they both stand on their own merits, each decision.
Yeah, we're here to judge the hardship. They're there to judge the ecology or the impact on the building potentially having an impact on water quality in the area. Commissioner Elbom?
Yeah, I do want to point out one thing that was interesting. Lot 5, I think, was granted, the applicant said tonight, a 25-foot setback, not
Not 7.8 feet.
Yeah, not 7.8 feet. What's worth.
Should we move it to a vote? All in favor? Just me. I'm sorry, and Mayo. All opposed? Thank you very much. Moving forward, application, don't have to read engineering notes. Application 2411, 3 Lafayette Drive, Studio RAI Architects for Mr. and Mrs. Jason Cohen.
Good
How are you,
evening.
sir? Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Lou DeLeo, Studio Roy Architects, 50 Fifth Avenue, Pelham, New York. I'm the architect for the project, and we're here tonight to request a variance for a front yard setback. We're renovating this existing house, and part of the design is to create a front porch on the house. And the required setback is 50 feet, and by adding a 6-foot porch, we'll be needing a variance for that. The measurement taken to the staircase creates an 8-foot variance requirement. If you measure it to the actual porch itself, it's a 2-point-something feet requirement, setback requirement. That's why we're here tonight. We have the owner, Mr. Cohen, is here tonight. He actually got 3 letters from the neighboring properties in favor of this variance. I think it was handed to the building department.
Yeah, we just wanted to confirm that this was the letter provided to the 3 neighbors.
Yeah.
10 Lafayette Drive, Danny Panesi, 3 Lafayette Drive, Steve Cristone, and 6 Lafayette Drive, the Cohens. When they signed this was the letter they received, they signed it. This was an affirmation of acceptance of this variance.
Right,
Thank you, sir.
yes. I can show you the...
I'm sorry, support of this.
Survey, if you like, or in the site plan. I think you have copies of everything.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner, to my right, any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, can I
Go ahead.
ask one question? I just want a clarification. So the 3 letters that were provided to us, it's your testimony that the neighbor signing below is consenting or in agreement with the
I'm going to ask
application?
Mr. Cohen to join me here. Can he join me?
Yes.
Yeah. Jason, please. This is
I-
Mr. Cohen. He's the one that went around with the...
Just do me a favor, just state your name and address for the record, please.
Jason Cohen, 3 Lafayette Drive, Trumbull, Connecticut.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Cohen, and thank you for being in attendance. So I just want a clarification. These 3 letters that were sent to the neighbors and the neighbors signed off on them.
Yep.
Was that acknowledging they received it, or was it saying, hey, I saw the plan, I'm good with it?
No, as I saw the plan, I'm good with it.
Okay, great. I just wanted a clarification of that from you because you got the signatures, is that correct?
Yeah, I did a walk around in the rain the last couple of days.
Great, thank you, Mr. Cohen.
He actually took the plans with him of the proposed work and showed it to them, to show them what we're doing.
Great, thank you. I just needed a clarification of that. Sometimes it's not self-explanatory, and sometimes I need things explained to me slowly and use small words. Thank you.
Commissioners to my left, any questions? Thank you very much, sir. Is there anyone else here present who would like to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone here present who would like to speak in opposition to this application? All right, I'd like to close the public session of this meeting, and do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Seems pretty straightforward. It's aesthetic and
Small.
I think it's de
very,
minimis.
very minimal,
De minimis.
and 3 letters in support. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you. We'd like to, oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, sir. Prior to engineering approval, applicant must show compliance with the administrative policy for stormwater management and drainage design standards and obtain a driveway permit. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Seconded. Thank you very much.